Hello and welcome back to the 14th episode of the Knowing Who podcast. I am Ben. This is Miles.
I'm still ill.
We're still ill
because this is still.
It's been 2 minutes since we finished our last episode on Kill the Moon, and we are here now with everyone's even more favourite episode, the Tsuranga Conundrum. Miles, quickly, has anything happened in the news since the last episode?
They cancelled Doctor Who. We've got a new Doctor in the form of Chris Marshall,
publicly owned,
and the BBC no longer exists.
BBC's
as well.
been destroyed.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a time,
I'm literally
hasn't it?
checking Twitter just to see if there's anything that I could possibly fill.
Well, there's nothing, man. There's nothing.
Peter Capaldi has invoked the words of the great Tom Baker as he looks back on his time of Doctor Who.
Oh, lovely. Well,
There's
that
a video,
would have
but
been
I'm
good
not
for
gonna play
last episode, wouldn't it?
It would have been.
Yeah.
Poor
Oh well.
timing. Sorry, Radio Times.
Yeah. Alas, we have nothing
no
to
news.
talk about because it is still the 13th of October as we are recording this.
Yes, still the unlucky day where it took us 2 hours to record, to get even started. It is now, what time is it? It is now 9:20 in the evening.
It is. And
we were meant to be finished by this point.
As this comes out, I will be in New Zealand, in the South Island, hopefully somewhere around Twizzle by this point. If not,
you're just out of
Queenstown.
season to watch the Wars, the New Zealand Warriors.
Oh yes, literally, we looked at that, and I was really.
I'm not
annoyed,
talking about the All
actually.
Blacks. I'm talking about the rugby league team that plays in the.
Oh
NRL.
right, well I don't care about that. Then.
Okay.
Well, there we go.
Gaining traction, I'm told, in New Zealand rugby league. Can't wait till it's the worldwide dominating sport. This is too nerdy for nerds.
Well,
Rugby
I mean,
league
it's still interesting stuff.
It's not. You do not care.
No.
So
you know what I do care about?
What do you care about?
I was going to say the Tsuranga Conundrum. I've already mentioned this, but the title on my
What a
page, I
conundrum.
misspelt it.
Yes, you were just telling me this.
The Tsuranga Conundrum.
Tsuranga Conundrum.
Henceforth, this shall be known as
Yeah.
the Tsuranga Conundrum.
From now on this podcast,
From
I'm
now
going to
on.
try and, like Mavity, I'm going to try and say Tsuranga every time.
Tsuranga, yeah.
Broadcast
Broadcast on the 4th of November, 2018.
today. you mean? The day
6 years ago.
this podcast comes out.
Yeah.
The 4th of November.
Yep.
A Monday.
It
In
is,
our
yeah,
time, but a
yep,
Sunday.
yep.
Of course, this is the first, well, not the first ever, but the first series that came out on Sundays instead of
It is. I forget
Saturdays.
about that. Yeah.
This era was a wild card. Let's call it that.
This was the.
I'm
this
not going to try
era-
and bash. I'm going to start from the outright. I'm going to make it very clear. I'm not going to bash the Jodie era too much.
No. Well, look.
I don't want
let's
this
be
to be that.
Let's be positive. Let's see
Exactly.
the positive, and I've got a lot of positives
Good.
to talk about.
If that's what you've come to listen for, it's not going to happen.
No,
I hope.
no, because we do want to have a bit of because
we still love Doctor Who at the end of the
if
day.
you want podcast bashing Doctor Who, there are
Hundreds.
so many out
There's
there.
hundreds of them out there.
There's so many. So yeah, let's we'll try and have a positive twist.
Yep.
This is going to go well, this isn't it?
We were operating on 40% at the end of the last one.
I
We're
think this
now
might be
operating
our
at
best
20%.
episode ever. You know, this might be our best one.
Combination of this episode and this illness and this time of night.
I still have a bit of my Frobisher's orange and passion fruit, not the bird.
Other orange flavoured drinks are available.
Yes.
Where the hell do you even get Frobisher? I've never heard of it.
From the Chill Factor.
Oh, of course.
Sorry, Chill Factory.
Other skiing locations are available.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless
Can't name
you
them,
live
though.
in Manchester and can't get out of Manchester, then you have to go there.
This episode came out when I was in the first year of uni.
Cool. I was still in my last year of sixth form when this came out.
I had two first years, so I
Lame.
I
Did you flunk out of your first year of uni?
yeah, because it was
He's
disclosure.
too cool. You're too cool for university.
Well, full disclosure, this was a very unpleasant time in my life when this series came out.
I won't get into too much into it then. I don't know the full story.
So
I'm just trying to be funny.
Naturally, I mean, this isn't bashing the era. This is just like at the time, it was a very weird time in my life when I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and it was it's a very hard time in your life when you're suddenly being told decide what you want to do for the rest of your life.
It was horrible.
Which I knew, and eventually ended up doing, but I was going very much on the wrong route, and to have those memories are very much attached to this era, this series, because Flux, I have some great memories of. I was in my final year of uni.
Yeah.
I Halloween Apocalypse, I've got some fab memories of, and everyone was watching it. It was that episode. Everyone was watching it. It was nuts.
Instead of
really
going
crazy.
out for Halloween, I remember exactly where I was watching the Halloween
Crazy.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, I remember it coming out.
I remember the build up to it. I remember the strange social media campaigns. I remember the whole lot.
All of it. I remember my mate sending me, who hadn't watched Doctor Who in years, sending me a video of him watching the Weeping Angel scene and going ah as it jumped forward. I remember my housemates going, let's put Doctor Who on. I really want to watch it.
No, I was the only one in my house that day. Everyone else had gone out for Halloween and had stayed in to watch Doctor Who.
Never mind. We'll bring you back to my sadness for Series 11. Like I say, I inevitably have like a slight connection to like this being. Some people have times in their life when Doctor Who is kind of like a sanctuary, and like, you know, there might be all this sort of uncertainty, but it's kind of like an anchor that helps them.
Doctor Who is a safe space.
Yeah, whereas this kind of ended up just having a link to a time when I was very adrift, and it was so naturally I look back at Series 11, and it's a kind of a harder one to watch and enjoy, but we watched it nonetheless. We gave it a go.
I look back on Series 11 and think the same thing, but not because I was having a bad time, just because I just don't like Series 11 very much.
Well, there we go.
Like I said, I'm not going to try and bash the era or the
each
series.
to their own.
I'm going to try and be as good as I can.
Why not? Let's be positive. Let's have some positive vibes.
To keep us awake.
Yeah. Starring Jodie Whittaker, who I saw in a play not too long ago.
Exactly.
Mandip Gill, Bradley Walsh, Tosin Cole, written by showrunner Chris Chibnall and directed by Jennifer Perot. Who
has she done anything else?
I don't think she did.
Good.
I should have checked.
Good. I don't know.
No. I forgot this era doesn't have pre-titles, you know?
I know, right?
Isn't
I
it
thought
weird?
the same thing.
I was starting an iPlayer and I was like, oh, have I jumped ahead?
So that was a huge thing at the time. They said, we're not going to do cold opens anymore. We're just going to start. And talking about the title sequence, it's amazing. I absolutely love the Jodie Whittaker music and the visuals and I love that whole thing. And this is the era of the show when the show started looking really good.
Looked like an ITV drama.
Exactly. In the last episode of this podcast, I was saying how awful Series 8 looked, but this one actually looks really good.
It almost so good to the point where there's so much like it going on in the image that I don't think I've ever watched that title sequence in full resolution, because, you know, as you get near the end when it's about to go to the episode name, it's like my TV can't handle all this information.
Too much bit rate and it's streaming and
it's
you
blurring.
Can't get the compression.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you have this on Blu-ray, which I'm sure exists, I don't have a Blu-ray player, so I haven't actually seen that.
I don't think I have anything past Series 8 on DVD, you know?
I don't think I have anything past Series 6 on DVD.
Yeah.
I want to get the full shebang, but I haven't. Because one day iPlayer will shut down, I'm sure. We're nowhere near that. We're nowhere near there yet, but I'm sure it will. But no, the title sequence is absolutely amazing. I do love it. But they said, I remember they announced we're not going to do them this series. And then I think by the time Series Flux, Series 13?
Yeah.
By the time Series 13 came, I think they brought them back. I think.
What are you talking about? Sorry.
Cold Open.
Yes.
I think they were back before the end of Jodie's reign. I'm pretty sure.
I think they did do them, yeah.
But also, another thing they said they were going to do was they were going to extend the episode length to 50 minutes on all these stories. And this one, I think, is 52 or 53 minutes.
Yeah, it was a bit longer.
Then there was also episodes in the previous eras that did get that long, you know, for no reason. They were just longer episodes. And then there's also an episode in this series which is shorter than some Russell T Davies episodes, so it's not really a fixed sort of time thing. But I remember them announcing that and then people being like, oh, why'd you do that? Because this episode is actually quite short.
I had a pizza while I watched this episode.
Cool.
I just remembered that.
Did you write that down? You said
I didn't. I just remembered that.
I can only tell this is going to be an unhinged review.
I remember looking at the runtime as I was eating a slice of pizza.
Nice. I
so there you go.
Wasn't eating when I was watching this episode.
No, I was trying to cram in my viewing experience and food.
Good. As you should.
As we should.
I always think that I should do that, and then I think, well, how am I going to take notes if I've got greasy pizza hands?
You should look at my notes. They're covered in...
They are orange.
They are orange.
From what I can see from over here.
I just smeared over
It's
tomato.
not highlighter, it's just greasy finger.
Yeah, just greasy finger grease. And on that note...
let's continue on. This cold open... No, it's not a cold open. It could be a cold open. after the title sequence.
I thought that the moment. Well, interestingly, either the moment when the bomb goes off and that either that's when you'd go into the titles, or I think, and it's almost staged like it, the moment when they realise we're on a ship, we're now far away from the TARDIS, and then you see the ship, it cuts away to the ship. I was like, that's designed for a sting to come in, and then the titles.
I feel like, so there's a lot of programs that do this. As I've mentioned before, I'm a big Star Trek fan. They have the same sort of thing. They'll have a cold open, they'll have a bit of a reveal, and then it will cut to the title sequence. But that's an American thing where you've got to have an ad sequence at some point, and then they'll have the title sequence after the ads, I think, is what happens, or the other way around. But then in Doctor Who, up until this series, that is everything that's happened. Yeah. Occasionally you'll watch an episode of Doctor Who, and there'll be a cold open, and it'll cut to the title sequence, and then there'll be another sequence afterwards, and it'll feel like there should be another title sequence here in the modern series. And I think that's because they deliberately write it in that kind of way.
Right.
And it's possibly that they've written this episode in this way, and then they didn't make the decision to get rid of the cold open until way after they shot a lot of it, until they were in post.
Probably. Yeah. That would make sense.
Just to distinguish themselves from previous series. It's very possible.
I'm sure you could work out in every episode where
you could put one.
Those pre-titles would come.
Sometimes I literally will watch something and I'll think, that was written so that they could put something here, but then they've already done it, so they can't do it twice, essentially. And I think that's possibly what's happened in this. I bet, like you just said, I bet you could watch every episode of Series 11 where they hadn't made that decision yet, and you could probably figure out where it was meant to be. I'm not going to name it because I don't remember Series 11 that well. But of course, the first episode didn't even have a title sequence.
No, it didn't.
No title sequence.
No, just like 73 Yards didn't have a title sequence. Yeah.
We should do The Woman Who Fell to Earth, because I actually really like that story.
Really?
I remember watching that thinking, this is going to be great. Didn't think that after the second week.
Well, maybe.
We'll get there.
I want to talk about some cast members.
Go for it.
Brett Goldstein is in this.
I know.
Have you seen Ted Lasso?
No, but I know who he is and who he
plays. It's Roy Kent.
Yeah, he's here, he's there, he's everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Etc. And he goes on to cameo at the end of Thor 4, Love and Thunder, as Hercules.
Does he?
Yeah.
Wow,
he's in the post-credits.
I forgot that.
He's in the post-credits.
Or I walked out before the post-credits.
It was a bad movie. He was in the post-credits, and Zeus is saying, I have built you to be the ultimate warrior to kill Thor.
And it's Brett Goldstein.
And then it cuts to Brett Goldstein as Hercules. I'm not making this up. Well, this is a real thing.
Wow, there you go. I mean, that's just thrown me. But yeah, it's so weird seeing him.
But when this came out, I don't think he was anywhere near as big as he is now.
I think Ted Lasso must have started coming out by this point.
I have no idea.
Either way, it's so weird seeing him act so calm completely and chill in this. Yeah. I'm so used to seeing him on edge, angry. So this is and he's great. I think he's got it's a relatively small part.
I think it's quite strange how I've written this down later on, but he only has he gets killed off really quickly,
essentially. But he has a lot to do until that point.
He does. Although I have a bit of criticism about that, but I'll get to it a bit later on.
Sure. Either way, I enjoyed him in it.
He
was a really good addition.
And another cast member who I completely forgot was in this episode, Doc Brown, who is his stage name.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actual name he's credited as in this story because he more famously is known as Doc Brown. Yeah. He's a rapper, comedian / rapper / actor.
Club?
He was in the 4 O'Clock Club. He's been on Russell Howard's Good News in a stand-up role.
Taskmaster, probably.
He might have done Taskmaster. I think he's done, Nights at the Proms, Nights at the Apollo, possibly.
Yeah,
he's an actual stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
He has gigs, and then he's just in this as some guy, essentially.
I think that's what he's credited as.
Nothing to do with rapping, nothing to do with comedy. He's just a guy. He's just an actor. It was just really strange.
That was very weird.
Completely forgot that he was in it until I watched it again.
Another actor in it I love, Lois Trimimba, as Mabley. Yeah. The sort of Brett Goldstein's kind of second in command. The nurse.
The not lead medical. She's a medic, I believe. She's called a medic.
I think she's the standout of the cast in this because
I can see that.
She actually gets some interesting stuff to do. She actually has a character
arc almost.
Yeah. She's believable.
Turn.
She's very lovable as well.
She is.
Yeah, it's a simple arc, just going from like I'm not very confident to
I'm confident, or a bit more confident.
But it's effective and it works.
Yep.
And also she's got chemistry with Jodie because she'd worked with Jodie in another medical drama.
Okay.
Trust Me, which I remember watching before Jodie was the Doctor, because we knew she was going to be the Doctor. It was it was then announced like, oh, she's in this drama. So I remember watching that at the time, and Lois remembers in that as well. She's also in what was the podcast series called? The Redacted.
Oh, in that.
Yeah, she's one of the trio in that as well.
Okay, I didn't know
that. She's a great actress, love her, and I think that she's my standout member of the cast.
I think she's probably my favourite character in this, who aren't main cast. Well, probably, possibly even including. The main cast.
I just think she steals the.
She's great. No, I agree. Yeah. She is good. Like I said, I think Astos is of course Brett Goldstein's character. He leaves the story quite early on, unexpectedly almost.
It's a shock.
Which then leaves it for her to fill that gap, which and she does it well. She does. The thing I was going to say, I'll just get onto it now. The thing about Astos, why the Doctor and Astos are exploring the ship together to try and find this invader who hasn't been named yet. And I just thought, why is Astos doing this? Shouldn't this be like Yaz or Graham, or like, shouldn't the companions be doing the bit that Astos is doing right now?
There is that kind of element of like in this era.
I understand that they've brought in a guest actor and they want to use him. I completely understand that. But like,
and also like he'll know the shit better than
logically sure, but yes,
when it comes to kind of feels like you're stealing parts from the companion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I find it kind of a bit odd, but hey ho. He does good. I like Astos. He's very. I mean, he's a bit annoying because like he's not letting the Doctor be the Doctor. But other than that, I like him as a character. And
I like Brett Goldstein as well. So he did a great. I think he did a podcast series called Films to Be Buried With, and he did a great episode with Russell.
T. Davis.
Pre Doctor Who, pre him coming back to Doctor Who, which is very good. So have a listen to that.
Cool.
I think Angus from work recommended that to me.
Shout out to Angus from work.
Shout out to Angus.
Hello.
Yes. What else? What else positive do I want to say? The
phrasing it like that.
The direction. I think the claustrophobic direction from Jennifer Poirot is very good. I think there's a lot of tight shots. A lot of it's handheld. It's almost all handheld. A lot of this era is, to be honest. But in this instance, you
part
really,
of the sort of drama, ITV drama.
But like you're because of that, the tightness of the shots, the handheld nature, you feel like you're in that ship with them, and it feels like you're. Yeah. And also, I love the sort of classic sleek design of spaceship, which up to that point, I don't think, like certainly the Rusty Davis era.
Much. No, Russell's era certainly never would have done it. I can't think of any other examples off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's not foreign completely to Doctor Who. The Dalek Asylum, the Dalek Parliament ship sort of has a bit of that.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, that's true.
That's the first thing that came to my head. I'm sure there's others as well.
But in terms of like
the what's it called? We were just talking about it before we recorded. The Alien Bogies spaceship from
Space Babies.
No, well, Space Babies, but no, that's after this. No, the Curse of the Black Spot spaceship sort of has a bit of that.
Spaceship design is.
It's a bit sort of sleek and futuristic. Doesn't really matter. But no, you're right. It is new and different, and all new, all different. Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Talking about that, actually, the control room looks very much like a TARDIS. I thought. The spaceship control room for the Tsuranga.
Like the drive, the antimatter drive.
No, the control room.
Yeah.
Different rooms.
Is there a control room in this?
Yes.
The one where they all gather.
The one where there's no pilots and they don't have any access to it. The one where there's the Pting. Let's say there's no Pting room.
Oh yeah.
That room. There's a sort of drop down column from the ceiling, which could almost be a time rotor.
Yeah. With
sort of 6-ish sort of panels around it, with nothing at the bottom.
Sure.
I thought that's very possibly a rejected TARDIS idea that they had repurposed to make a control.
I do feel like a lot of the rooms kind of.
There's very much only 3 sets in this story. Yeah. I think there's a corridor set, and then there's the hospital pod set, and then they reuse the control room set. I think for the
different pods,
the isolinear, not isolinear, the radiation. Oh God, you can tell we're really dying now. The engine room. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Exhausted
already.
Carry on. Where are we even? The Pting.
Yeah, I was literally gonna say. There we go.
We haven't got to the Pting yet.
No, but let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I love Graham's reaction to it when he's like, Jodie's already spotted it, and Graham and all the gang, obviously, because they all move around as a pack. They all appear around the corner, and Graham's halfway through saying a sentence, and he's kind of like, "Yes, I don't know. What is that?" Like, it's a really lovely reaction.
Graham has a lot of sort of moments where I like the way he interacts with things and people.
I think Graham's the best of the companions in Series 11.
Bradley Walsh. And this, of course, is Bradley Walsh.
Yeah.
As opposed to I'm not Bradley Walsh, said later on by another guest actor. Bradley Walsh possibly not improvises, but I'm sure he sort of ad-libs a couple bits and pieces. I'm sure parts of his reactions and his sort of intrinsic bits that he just sort of mentions out of nowhere, I think are probably Bradley Walsh's own creation. And he really gives a lot to the character of Graham, especially in this series where sometimes characters can feel very one-dimensional,
like they're not given as much to do. So the only thing they can do is
exactly
transpose their own personality onto it.
So I feel like that really helps the character of Graham. And he has, I can't remember many other exact bits, but there's bits, I think, when they're helping the other character give birth, he's like, "Oh, come on, right. Well, we're two blokes," and
I like the whole call the midwife thing of like.
And he's saying, "I've watched every episode of Call the Midwife," and then later on he says, "Oh yeah, but I turn it off when it gets a bit squeamish." I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
And at least even if they're not his lines that he's made up, he performs them very well. Yeah. He adds a lot to the character.
I think also, given that we're on the companions, we'll come back to the Pting in a second.
Sorry,
but like, Ryan is an interesting one because I think. And I heard Review of Death talk about this recently on their review of...
They've just done The One Who Fell to Earth.
Yeah.
I've not listened to that one yet.
It's Tozin's like northern accent that he has to put on for this role.
Yeah.
I think it does pose as like a sort of a slight barrier for him because he's kind of consciously thinking like...
Where's he originally from? Is he from London?
He's got like a Cockney accent.
Right, okay.
So... I think he's consciously thinking, keep the Sheffield accent.
London companion.
Well, yeah, because Graham's from that neck of the woods.
Yeah, they haven't given him a northern accent.
So, and it doesn't take much to be like, I grew up with my dad in London, and
I've come back to
Sheffield to live with my nan or whatever.
To look after my nan. Yeah.
So it's a shame that they couldn't just say, use your own accent because then you can just focus on the performance rather than do two things at the same time.
He has moments in the two series that he's in. Ryan has his moments and he is likable, but then there are other parts where he's very much sort of, oh yeah, me nan. That's about it.
And the sort of the moments of pause in this, like when he sort of talks about his mum.
Literally, he talks about how his mum passed away.
It's tricky to sort of invest in that when you're like. Trying to listen past the accent,
of course, and Sheffield is your neck of the woods. Really, it's Yorkshire, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they're about
Yorkshire.
Never been to Sheffield in my life.
I've been to Sheffield.
Really?
I was very young. That's all I remember.
Cool.
I think I watched Horrible Histories live on stage in Sheffield.
Well, there you go.
As a kid.
That's a nice link.
Yep. That's it. That's all I know about Sheffield.
That's all we have. Okay, cool. So an interesting one.
But the Pting.
But Pting, let's talk more about the
Pting. It looks great because it's obviously pure CGI.
Yeah,
there's
Stitch mixed with Shrek mixed with Gremlin. Yeah,
sure. There's no, as far as I can tell, there's no behind the scenes sort of documentary style whatever. I couldn't find anything. If there is, then I'm blind or it's hard to find.
Did Yaz do like monster files for this series?
If they did, it's on the DVDs, which I haven't got.
Ah, okay.
I don't know is the answer to that question.
Neither do I.
I couldn't find anything, but I'm sure it is 100% CGI. There's not a little animatronic Pting running around. There's not, as far as I can tell, there's no stuffed doll stand-in that they had on set.
Yeah,
it's pure CGI.
Yeah.
But it looks great, and they go on and reuse it in the Doctor's Locked Up in a Prison episode.
Oh, they do, don't they?
Which I have actually got a note about that, but I'll get to it in a moment. But it looks great. It sounds great. It looks real. it's believable. It's got funny moments. There's a shot of it crawling around in a tube, and then it kicks back some scraps of metal, and then burps. And it is funny, and it is a little cute, sort of devious little thing.
I like Yaz,
and I do like
it as well when she grabs it in the blanket. And
that's funny. Yeah, she boots it. That's really funny.
And she's like, "Oh yeah,
she named
last kick for
I don't know who footballer. I don't know football very well.
Yeah.
It is, and it has its moments, and I think a lot of people sort of they criticize a lot of the baddies of this series.
Yeah.
But the Pting I do like.
Yeah.
And I do think it's cute, and I do think it's well done.
I think it could have developed a bit like over the story to like the more it ate, the more it grew, or but then again that would take away from the fact that this is this small thing which is going to eat the ship.
It's, if anyone's watched Ben 10, it's Upchuck from Ben 10. It's an alien that eats stuff and then has energy blasts. Anyway,
sick.
That might be a bit too niche.
Yeah.
Too niche for Miles anyway.
Yeah, I had a Ben 10 watch, and that was it.
I had one. Of course, my name is Ben, so I got a lot of Ben 10 in my life. Go.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? It shows up again in The Doctor is in a prison now with Captain Jack. I don't remember the name of the story. I'm too tired for this.
It's a Dalek story.
Yeah, the Christmas
Revolution of the Daleks.
There you go.
Is it Revolution? Yeah. It's not Resolution is the...
Yeah, it's Revolution.
Yeah.
It's Revolution.
I do get confused to see those ones.
Resolution was just Resolution.
Yeah.
Revolution of the Daleks. And there's a bit in this episode where it says, you cannot ever contain a Pting. It will be able to eat through whatever you contain it in. And then the next time we see a Pting, it is contained in a prison cell. Yeah. Now, to be fair, I think it is contained in like an energy prison, but there is still like metal that, I don't know. Probably just an oversight. They probably thought, what can we put in here? Oh, let's put a Pting in.
Let's put a Pting in, yeah.
And of course, the Pting was like the sort of meep of its day, because it was a pop vinyl.
Oh, was it?
There was a pop vinyl Pting.
Was there any like a mini Pting?
There was never a 5-inch scale action figure Pting.
No,
because that's too expensive.
But like, was there one for like Big Chief figures or something like that? Maybe
there might have been a Big Chief. Was there a Jodie Big Chief? Maybe it came with a Jodie. I think there might have been a stuffed one at some point as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it was a bit of a cash. It was. I don't know if I call it a cash cow, but it was a cute little thing that Doctor Who
formed as part of the writers' room that was going to.
Yeah, because they were going to have a writers' room for this series, weren't they?
Yeah. So there's I forget the name, but someone is credited as the creator of the Pting in the credits for this.
But they're not the writer of this episode.
But they're not the writer of this episode.
Interesting.
Because Chibnall had to write this last minute. Like,
yes, I read that somewhere.
Originally, he wasn't meant to write this, and he had to bring it together.
Put it together.
Which, I mean, fair play.
Not a bad job.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is very... It reminds me a little bit of 42. The whole kind of like...
Yeah. The ship's going to explode unless we resolve this.
Yeah, the only thing...
we can't get off because the TARDIS isn't here.
And you've got like a lot of sort of bits of technobabble, a lot of technobabble.
Yeah. There's no funny 20th century pop quiz.
Yeah, and there's no emotional connection to the Pting. No one was married to the Pting or, had a relationship with it. What a shame. So there's similarities, but obviously it's not quite the same.
No, and it shouldn't be the same. Obviously, it's
no, yes, yeah, but obviously Chibnall is
over 10 years removed, I think, from 42.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 years, 11 years.
11, yeah. Wow.
That's weird.
Anything else?
Like you said last week, 2010s feels like not too long ago, but when you think about it, this episode is 6 years old. So
that is kind of crazy. Yeah.
If anyone knows like a 6-year-old, this episode is probably older than them.
Wow,
insane.
You could christen them as Tsuranga.
It's the Tsuranga.
Yeah, Tsuranga or Pting.
Yaz mentions she's a police officer.
Yeah.
There's a bit where she says, "Oh, like my uniform camera." That's it.
Yeah. I wrote in my bullet points for this episode. I wrote bullet point for Yaz, and that was it. Yaz. I just wrote Yaz.
Yeah, I don't think yeah, you're right. Yaz doesn't.
She kicks the Pting.
She kicks the Pting. That's her moment for this story, and she looks after the spirally engine bit for a bit.
Yeah, with the android.
The android. Right. I forgot the android was in this.
So did
story until just now.
I remember at the time I didn't actually. I sort of sort of went, oh, that's just a very stilted performance, and it's not really. But I actually watched it on this occasion. I actually appreciated the performance a bit more.
Than I thought it was. So when I first saw the android, as a Star Trek fan, I know I mentioned this a lot. As a Star Trek fan, it was very much they're doing Commander Data from the Next Generation. Right. Do you know who Data is?
I do actually.
Do you know what he looks like?
He's kind of like
it's the
like
same.
This guy, yeah.
Pale skin, slick back hair, minimal
suit.
Emotion. Well, Data wore a Starfleet uniform, not just a black suit.
Oh, did this guy wear like a
sort of just nothing, like a jumpsuit? Yeah. But it's very much. I thought this was going to be they're doing Data, but he was a bit more to it than that. At the end, it's very much seems like he's his own person with emotions, because he's sad that his person is gone. It also means that he's going to essentially be killed by the corporation.
Which reminds me of Have you seen Red Dwarf? Of like Crichton being told that he's going to be decommissioned at the end of his service. He's going to go to Silicon Heaven, hopefully.
But yeah, no, I just remembered that at the end of the episode, they're like, "Yeah, so I'm going to be decommissioned now," and the Doctor goes, "Oh well."
Sucks to be you. Well.
It's a bit strange.
Have you lost your house? Well, I can't help you there. I'm sorry.
I've got a mini house.
You bought a whole house for Amy and Rory and potentially a flat for Clara. Yeah,
I've run out.
No money.
I've spent all that money on lodging at Craig's.
But yes, he is. The android is actually quite a considered performance, and I like the robotic slick movements to the point where there's
got very good, very Commander Data moments. Yeah. But also he does have his own spin on it, which is I think really really good.
Did you notice the double take moment that he does when the Doctor says she's talking about the bomb, and he has this moment where he like looks at her, but like in the robotic, it's like a robotic double take where he kind of goes. It's little things like that.
No, she says, I'm fiddling with the bomb, and he goes, "You're doing what with a bomb?" Or something like that. It is very. It's a little nice background moment,
but it's very good, very well done.
There's a bit when Yaz and the android. Does he have a name? I don't know. Ronan, yes. When Yaz and Ronan are defending the engine room, they are using these little devices called stasers, which of course is a play on words of phaser or laser, which I thought was very funny. I assume because they don't kill, they just stun stasers. Yeah. That's the idea. There's a running theme sort of throughout Series 11, which has a bit of play in this episode, not huge, but where every episode has like a teaching moment.
Really?
Well, in a lot of them. I remember there's one. I'll get to the one in this.
Oh, you're talking about the antimatter drive stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they talk about antimatter, and then the Doctor says it's like the iPhone version of CERN, which I think is a stupid line, but they're having this sort of teaching moment of what is antimatter,
it's a good way to put it
to make
in perspective, though.
Exactly. So this is like a small condensed version of what CERN is, although highly more advanced. But they have this sort of moment throughout Series 11. In Rosa, it's at the end where they teach about Rosa Parks and the impact she had on the world. And then later on, I had a bit in my head and it's gone. Oh, in the next episode after this, they teach about the partition. The whole episode is about the partition of India. Off the top of my head, there's the Witchfinders, which is sort of educating about the witch trials and the king at the time.
I really like the Witchfinders, actually. I think that's a really good one.
Mud People. Ncuti Gatwa, of course, references mud women in his first season, which are the Witchfinders, the witches in that series.
Yeah.
There you go.
Which episode does he reference?
I can't remember, but he says he meets a load of mud women and they're like horrible to him.
Oh, okay.
It's a very off line that he just sort of says. I think it was in Boom.
That would make sense. Yeah. Mud People.
Rambling on. But in this episode, the point I'm making in this episode, this is that bit where you have that sort of education-y moment about teaching about antimatter and physics and particle acceleration and that sort of idea of this. And then she literally describes how that would then power a spaceship. You would collide the matter with the antimatter, which gives off energy, which then propels the ship through space. Which, it is this nice little moment. Obviously, it's all sci-fi nonsense, but in theory, that would work. You can take the energy created.
Scientists have said like that is legit.
No, well, that is how matter and antimatter interact. They collide, they explode. Yeah. It creates energy. So but it. Energy is produced, and that could then be used to propel a ship. Yeah. Not denying that, but the fact that antimatter isn't an everyday thing like in other episodes that we have, or it's not a history moment. Of course, that ties into the whole idea of why Doctor Who was made in the first place. In the 60s, it was an educational history program. That was the first. That was the idea of the show. So when this series came in, when Chibnall came in, that's what he wanted to sort of reposition. He wanted to bring that back into the limelight. I think he then did drop it in the next two series, but COVID sort of had that, and he had his ideas about timeless children and all that sort of thing. So it went a bit out the back door. But in this series, it is definitely there in multiple episodes.
And I did like how in this one they do talk, the performances like treat those kind of elements like the antimatter drive, like quite casually, like like as if it's talking about as if they're talking about the boiler.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. I like when Doctor Who does
normalizes the future.
Normalizes it, makes it domestic. That's my bread and butter. Or my
Good.
Antimatter.
That's your antimatter to your matter.
Yes.
The next point I've written, though, sort of echoing on last episode that we did, is the siblings. Doc Brown and his expert pilot sister.
Yeah.
They seem to only be there just to create pointless tension.
It's one of those things of
raise the stakes slightly, but also I don't really think any of it's needed.
I think he might be a character too far.
Yeah.
I think you could have taken
She's, I guess, needed because at the end she pilots the ship. But
you've got the android, so
yeah,
pick one or the other. I think the brother could have maybe gone. Because you've already got.
It's possible that he was only there because Doc Brown is a name
that
they wanted to have in the episode.
Yeah.
I feel like if they wanted a named guest actor, they should have given one of the more important character roles to that guest actor. Yeah. And like I said earlier, obviously they have a named actor, or maybe he wasn't at the time, certainly not to the extent that he is now, but Brett Goldstein is in this episode. You could have,
he was
in theory, you could have had them both in separate episodes.
At the end of Woman Who Fell to Earth, when you have that roll of names, I swear Brett Goldstein is like one of the ones that they mentioned. It
just goes on and on and on.
It's
of all the guest actors in the series.
Yeah.
I forgot that even aired. But yeah, I feel like the siblings pose an interesting. I don't know why they're there. It feels like they're a bit pointless as to. Also, unrelated, there's a bit where the famous war veteran space pilot lady, when the Doctor introduces herself, she goes, "Oh, Doctor, I know that name.
Yeah.
Don't you have a paragraph about you in this book of an ancient war or something?"
Yeah.
And the Doctor goes, "Yeah, I've got a whole book written about me and about like a book about a war." And the Doctor's like, "Yeah, I'm just bragging that she's been part of this intergalactic space war."
Yeah, I'm not.
That's really.
I think the joke is obviously like she's like oh no.
She's played it down,
and then she pops her head back in and goes, "It's more of a volume than a chapter."
Funny,
which is great.
Not denying
but I don't know.
It's really odd that
I don't know what
exists.
the
implications for the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless she's talking about her time as the War Doctor.
Could be, but I assumed that was all top secret.
Yeah.
Locked in a time vault, whatever.
There you go.
I just thought that was really funny.
Have you got anything else you want to talk about? Is there anything that anyone else has said about?
Do you want to end this episode? Don't you?
I'm knackered.
Okay. Hang on. There is one more thing I want to mention. Is there anything else that I want to specific? There's two things. I want to say.
Go on.
The brother character, Doc Brown, rigs up this flight controls.
The little headpiece thing.
Digs up the floorboards of a ship that has an incompatible way of flying to the way that the space pilot knows how to fly. And he just happens to find all the right bits that exactly fit the right amount of fingers as controls that she needs. I just think that's bizarre.
Well, welcome to Doctor Who. I think that
they could have just had an empty seat and have the Doctor hack into it to get the pilot to sit into it.
Personally, that sort of stuff doesn't really bother me.
I didn't like it because he does it in 3 seconds as well. This highly specialised, takes 20 years to learn how to fly.
Yeah, but
they happen to have all the bits you need in this spaceship that shouldn't be compatible with it in the first place.
Sure.
I didn't like that.
It's different when it's something like, here's the sonic screwdriver and it's fixed a problem instantly where I think it's different when you're.
I would have preferred that though, if the Doctor had to just change it over from one way to the other using the sonic, which also the sonic is broken in this episode and then it just fixes itself right in the nick of time.
I remember being quite excited. I was like, we're going to have the Doctor without a sonic screwdriver for the rest of the series, and obviously
or even the rest of the episode, but no, it fixes itself exactly when it needs to fix itself, or else if it hadn't fixed itself they would have died. But the fact that literally right now it's fine now, I don't know, I thought that was a bit cheap.
I'm still not a fan of the sonic. I'm going to be honest.
No, especially in the most recent series, it's used a lot. I think in Nshute's series, or am I misremembering? In this series, it's used a lot. In series 11,
I think it was used a lot in Jodie's time.
And every single time, she used to wave it above her head to use it.
Yeah, it was. Anyway,
the
sonic screw. That's a different debate in and of itself. But yeah.
And then right at the end, the whole reason they're on the spaceship is to be taken back to the hospital planet.
Yeah, Resus One.
So they can be teleported back to the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they just be teleported to Resus One from... Why?
Because the ship doesn't have teleporting capabilities.
Yeah, but can't the planet... If they can teleport them
from the
why
planet
can't the planet teleport them to the planet?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, this hospital planet, why is there a hospital planet in a junk galaxy?
I don't know.
This is a junk... The entire galaxy, that's a huge astronomical scale of a thing.
Of a dump.
The entire galaxy is a junkyard.
And what are they looking for?
They're looking for some shit that the Doctor thinks might be there on this planet, but it actually might be on a different planet. Then they all get stunned. They all get boomed by Stephen Moffat's Villengard landmine, essentially.
That's it. Wouldn't that be a cool reference?
Wouldn't that be a great throwback if the Villengard landmine was actually the one from Boom? Also, they all get horrifically injured by this landmine. They're in pain for 4 days before they wake up. I don't know what that must have been like.
And all of them, all the companions are
they don't
fine,
care.
But the Doctor is kind of...
She was the last one to wake up.
Yeah.
They could have been awake for hours for all we know.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But they were all horrifically injured. The Doctor's ectospleen gets mentioned. I've never heard of an ectospleen, but she says,
not
my
outside
ectospleen.
of Ghostbusters.
I don't know why she's got an ectoplasm thing. I don't know. But yeah, I just thought, you were all hit by a landmine and you've been horrifically injured by the effects of this horrible weapon. And the Doctor's like, I'm sorry, you're all gonna die because of this landmine that I can't stop.
Yeah.
It murders them, I guess. They all get horrifically injured, and then they get healed, and it's all fine. I just think that's probably traumatic as hell for the companions. This is like adventure number 3 as well for them, from their perspective. I think. I just thought, that's odd. That's just such an odd way to do it.
It is. I don't have any other...
You've got nothing.
I've
got
nothing.
no clever...
I've got nothing.
No rebuttals.
I can't.
Right, let's bring up the Twitter. This is going to be a short episode, I feel.
Tell me what people thought of it.
I'm just bringing it up now.
Let them... Beep.
Beep. Knowing Who profile. Here we go.
Tell us the news.
We have Sonny King, our excellent composer.
Sonny.
Sonny King says, it's not too bad, it's just a bit bland when compared to the rest of Series 11. I love the synthy Akinola score, though. Even if it's just really quiet in the actual episode, Pting is iconic. True, Pting, somewhat iconic. It's when I think of Jodie monsters, that's what I think of.
I think it's one of the best creations of the Jodie era.
Sure. Like I said, when I think of Jodie monsters, Pting is top of the list.
Pting. Yeah.
There's not many other monsters, but Pting is definitely at the top of that list.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah. What a guy! And you mentioned
what a guy.
You mentioned the Akinola score. I can't find exactly where it is in my notes, but I did actually mention that as well. There's a bit suddenly where everything gets really serious. I think it's when the Doctor's gathered them all in the one room and saying what the plan is going to be, or what they need a plan and what it's going to be. And suddenly the score did come in, and I was actually very impressed with the synthy score, which in the past I've been critical of Akinola compared to Gold, but in this episode it is actually done really well.
I don't think I have a problem with his. I like Sagan's music a lot. I think that perhaps a bit like we were saying for the last episode, that there's a lot to be said for the lack of music, and I think like in Kill the Moon, in those scenes when there's no music, that's almost
it adds to it
more powerful. Whereas I feel like it almost is a constant drone throughout the whole era, which sure, that's a choice, fair enough, but I think that's the only reason why sometimes I can't get on board with that, because it is constant. And I think if you have more moments of
Murray Gold also has moments of constant noise. It's prevalent, especially into series 8, 9, and 10.
That is very true.
So like it's not exactly a problem specific to any one composer.
No, I think the same could be said for a lot of things. But yes, that's just maybe a personal thing. Yeah,
no, I completely understand where you're coming from. I think Miles needs to go to bed, everyone. I don't even know. I don't know how long this is. I can't see a timer, but this is not going to be a long episode.
I don't think so. But there we go. That's been the Tsuranga Conundrum. The Tsuranga Conundrum.
Certainly an episode of all time.
There we go.
I think that's hit the nail on the head.
We'll be back next time to talk about...
In 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time.
And what are we going
to be discussing near the anniversary of Doctor Who, Miles?
We're going to be talking about the 5 Doctors.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
We don't know which. I don't think we're going to be specifying a version because I know there's 15 versions of this.
Just watch one that's on iPlayer.
I'm going to watch the one that's on iPlayer.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's currently the 13th of October. This won't be coming out till mid to late November, I think.
You've got loads of time.
I've got loads of time to watch this story. I could do one a week like the old days.
Well, you won't be doing that with the 5 Doctors because it's all one episode.
Is it actually?
Yeah, it's a big, hour and a half long special.
Cool. Well, I won't do that then.
Yeah.
We
chose the right time to do a one-episode story.
We could have done a 7-parter.
We could have done, literally,
well. We wanted to do an anniversary episode for the
anniversary. Yeah, we did. And spoiler alert, I love the 5 Doctors. It's a childhood favourite, so
brilliant.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to being So you've heard me ill for this episode. You'll be hearing me jet-lagged for the next one.
We're going full Weekly Planet for this, for those who listen to the Weekly Planet podcast.
Enjoy when that comes out.
And then I won't reveal too much after that, but we do have big plans after that as well. Coming into December time, anniversary December time.
I think we do, yeah.
Yes, you think we do?
Yeah.
We haven't sort of finalised them yet, but we do have plans coming.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Let's finish.
Yeah. But bye, everyone. Watch out for bombs.
What? Oh. Goodbye.
Oh, I'm so tired. You've been listening to Knowing Who, another Doctor Who podcast, with me, Miles Taylor.
And me, Ben Davidson. Thank you to Sonny King for producing our theme tune.
And thank you to you for listening. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, plus YouTube on the Tailored Vision YouTube channel.
You can also follow us on all social media channels at Knowing Who Pod.
Catch you next time for more Knowing Who.